Today we're delighted to have as our commencement speaker New Jersey's first Secretary of Higher Education, Rochelle Hendricks. Being the first in fields is remarkably challenging. One takes a position, often without a clear job description, responsibilities, and staff even. And she has done really a wonderful job as our first Secretary of Higher Education. She was appointed to this position by Governor Chris Christie in May 2011. Prior to this appointment, she has served the state as Acting Commissioner of New Jersey's Department of Education, Assistant Commissioner for the Division of School Effectiveness and Choice, and other positions in the Department of Education. She is a good friend of Stockton College, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Secretary Hendricks.
Good afternoon to the President, the Board of Trustees, the administration, faculty, staff, alumni, friends, and the graduating class of 2012. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of such an exciting and meaningful event. I am deeply honored to be with you today, and I'm especially humbled by the promise of the bestowing of the Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters. The pleasure of having been invited to Stockton's first standalone graduate commencement ceremony to give the keynote address, to be very honest, was immediately followed by a somewhat less pleasurable reality that I have to actually give the keynote address. A task made, quite frankly, a little bit more daunting, having to follow your excellent student speaker, Ms. Rita Marie King. Thanks a lot. As I prepared my remarks, I thought about Stockton as New Jersey's distinctive public college. The dictionary defines distinctive as to be set apart, eminent, or recognized. The definition certainly matches New Jersey's college in the Pinelands, a place that came to be because of dreamers who dared to do as well as to dream. I thought about the college's namesake, Richard Stockton. As you know, or at least I hope you know, Richard Stockton was an eminent lawyer and a prominent Federalist leader. Born in Princeton and educated at Princeton University. He was elected to the Second Continental Congress, served as Chief Justice of New Jersey Supreme Court, and was the first person from New Jersey to sign the Declaration of Independence. He was also incredibly brave. While assisting the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, he was captured and turned over to the British. When he was offered a pardon, he declined the pardon because it meant he would have to be loyal to the King, George III. So rather than the pardon, he endured prison and its brutality to uphold his principles and his beliefs. This institution bears the name of one of the state's and the nation's true heroes. And in that, you and I, including myself now as a future alum, are following in the legacy of his struggles, his sacrifice and his service, and his dream for a free people, educated and prepared to serve and to lead. That's what it means to bear the name and to be the keepers of the namesake. I also thought about your mascot, the osprey. And here we are in the home of the osprey. That osprey, why did I think about him? What a wonderful thing about Stockton in this beautiful, tranquil setting to have this bird as your mascot and all that that bird represents. So let me just share a little bit with respect to that. This institution has a strong tradition of being environmentally conscious. The osprey is the perfect symbol for that. It's a unique bird, unmistakable when seen at close range, sort of like your very own provost when seen at close range. But the other side about that special quality of that magnificent bird that is unique is reflected in everybody that I've met at this institution, and that includes today. No matter what the role, no matter what the function, there is something distinctive that stands out, and it's even truer when you come in close. And when you can tell that about people close up in Technicolor, that means it's real and it's rich. So the osprey is the perfect symbol. But there's something else about the osprey. In fact, it's an environmentally aware bird. It will recycle its nest every year. Recycle its nest. Now it goes out and gets new sticks, but it builds on the existing nest. And for me, that was reflective of so much about not only your environmental policies and the way in which you've gone about your capital finance being both efficient and effective, but it's also true of an institution that understands at its academic core, you always start with what you have and you hold it dear and you build forward. And so you have increased and expanded, but always understanding and valuing your deep roots. So the osprey is just the right bird. Well, after thinking about all those things, I thought there's just a few things that I want to share with you. So if you will, I'm going to give you a couple of observations, and then I'm going to take my seat. Here are the observations. Many people will tell you that it's important to do what you love. And I'm one of those people who agrees with it. It used to sound very sappy when you say, do what you love. Although your parents are probably saying, do something that's going to make money so you can pay these loans, or your spouse, or somebody else. But there's real value in following what it is that you love. And people like Daniel Pink now has done research that supports that. And just in case you think it still sounds too soft and sentimental, there's some work by Thomas Friedman. And Thomas Friedman, you remember, talked about the world being flat. And specifically, he said that, computers and software and all the technology is transmitting jobs everywhere and anywhere in the world. And that the flatter the world becomes, the more essential it is that you do what you love. As Stockton graduate students, you have been prepared to be special and to have specialized skills, and particularly as graduate students. Your talent and your skills cannot be orderly automated. So if that's true, it means that you're in very good position not only to get a job, but to be adaptive to an ever-changing workplace and environment. We talk about how quickly things are changing and moving, and some people say it's at what they call zettabyte level, and it gets faster and faster and faster, and we can't keep up with it. And I would dare say that because of the education you've received here, you have the skills to be adaptive, to be forever moving forward and learning. I want to ask a question. I know that there are some physical therapists, students in the audience, right? I think there are some nursing graduate students as well. There may be a few students getting degrees in education today. Any graduate students in education? All right, you're here, you're in the house. I won't list all of them. Well, I have a little abridged story. I'm going to tone it down a little bit and share it with you because I think it's revealing of why it's so important to value the education that you have and the gifts that you bring, no matter what the noise is around it. And I'm assuming you all have picked the fields you've picked because you love it and you know that you can do it well. So here's the story. It's actually written by a poet named Taylor Malley, who's a slam poet. Yeah, I'm hip like that. And the story is called What Teachers Make. And it goes something like this. The dinner guests were sitting around the table discussing life. One man, a CEO, no offense to the CEOs, decided to explain the problem with education. He argued, what's a kid going to learn from someone who decided his best option in life was to become a teacher? It's true what they say about teachers. Those who can do, those who can't do, teach. To corroborate his statement, he said to another guest, hey, Susan, you're a teacher. Be honest. What do you make? Susan, like myself and Dr. Sondkamp, had a reputation for honesty and frankness. She replied, you want to know what I make? I make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. I can make a C+ feel like the Congressional Medal of Honor. Susan continued, I can make parents feel almost like they won the lottery when I tell them how well their child is progressing. You want to know what I make. I make kids wonder, I make them question, I make them criticize, I make them apologize and mean it, I make them write, and I make them read. Susan then stopped and cleared her throat. And she paused. You want to know what I make? She said, I make a difference. what about you? What about you? Who is joining Ms. King in earning a master's in social work today? And I gather there are some students who may be receiving a master's degree in Holocaust and genocide studies, criminal justice, American studies, professional science, right? And the MBAs that are going to be CEOs who get what teachers do and that it matters. I'm almost there. One other person that I want to reference, maybe two, and that's Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs shares my belief that it's important to do what you love. And here's a quote from Steve. "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important," he counsels, "have the courage to follow your heart and intuition." His advice is about being authentic, about allowing your own internal compass to guide your life and to see you through the challenges of life. There are a couple of notes that I have in here that I'm going to use because this is what I want you to understand. Because he also says it's important to do what you love and to know who you are in the process of doing it. And while we celebrate his great accomplishments in the founding of Apple, we sometimes forget that Apple fired him. And they kind of did him a favor in the rest of the world because he went on to found Pixar. And then, of course, they wanted him to come back. And in coming back, he took Apple Corporation to heights that hadn't even imagined. The point of sharing that is that with all this talk about competition being international, we can sometimes forget that you have right here, this day, all that you're going to need to take you through the future. You have the ability to learn how to learn, and you got that here at Stockton. You've got real skills that are specialized, that nobody can take away from you and that you can use. And by knowing a little bit about learning how to learn, you also can be adaptive. So whether things take you up or down or all around, you, my friends, have everything it takes to be highly successful and lead a meaningful life. I want to close, so I give you a little heads up on that. And I want to close in the tradition that brings you back to Richard Stockton. I suggest that we continue to fulfill the promise of this great nation, the grand experiment, the model for a just, equitable, and peaceful society. Use your degrees so that they matter. As alums, Stockton will need you. You can count on it. You'll be getting letters soon. As well-educated citizens, New Jersey needs you, America needs you, and yes, the world needs you. You're prepared to make a difference. So continuing in the tradition of Richard Stockton, in the tradition of this institution's pioneering faculty, staff, administration, and students, its alums, go forth and make your mark, make the world better, because you, with your Stockton graduate degrees, are equipped to do so. I'm going to close with a quote from Mark Twain, a man of great wisdom and wit. And the quote is, "Always work like you don't need the money." I better repeat that. Always work like you don't need the money. Always fall in love like you've never been hurt. Always dance like nobody is watching. And always, always, class of 2012, live as if heaven is on earth. Congratulations, 2012. Go and make a difference. We need you. All the best.
Thank you very much, Secretary Hendricks. Mr. Ellis, it's my distinct pleasure to recommend to you for the conferral of the Doctorate of Humane Letters, honoris causa, the New Jersey Secretary of Higher Education, Rochelle Hendricks.
Dr. Sotkamp, I accept your nomination of Secretary Rochelle Hendricks for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with this salutation. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees hereby confers upon Rochelle Hendricks the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights, honors, and privileges thereunto appertaining. Congratulations.